Our guest is a beloved comic. She is a biker, which you might not suspect. The sisters, the Midnight Sisterhood, and she is known as No Passengers Gold because she won't, drive with anyone. She's that tough and that cool. And she's done a play. She's doing stand-up. She's brilliant. We love her. The biker, No Passengers, Judy Gold.
Hey, No Passengers.
Hey. How? What do you think of that?
Hi, I like it.
Yeah?
No Passengers.
You sound tough.
You're independent. You do your own thing.
I'm really independent.
I missed you. Jeez.
I can't believe it's just like, I don't think comics today have the bond that we had.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes in here is
there's
always
so
like,
many.
Laura was the one, and she has all these like crazy stories from people.
Laura was hilarious.
Right?
Yeah.
She
Whatever happened to her?
Shut up. When did you meet Laura? Or when did y'all meet?
When do you think we met? When did you come to
I felt like we met at Catch Rising Star, Silver's room, Silver Friedman's room.
That was improv.
You're right. Oh, yes.
It's
I
now an
remember it
Italian
well.
restaurant.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Improv I meant.
Yeah.
Was it the Improv? I don't know.
I
bombed
met at the
so many
Improv
places.
and Catch.
Yeah.
I mean, I hung out at Catch. That was
You were at
first...
Caroline's a lot.
Well,
you?
all right. So the first club I passed out was Catch.
Okay.
And then I auditioned for Lucian at the comic strip when I was in college. And he said to me, you're female, you're Jewish. I don't know what kind of market there is for Jewish female community. I'm like, but then a couple years later when I graduated and he passed me. But I had passed at Catch and then, but yeah, in the 80s, I was at like 84, 85, 86.
Mm-hmm.
I hung out at the Improv.
Yeah.
Remember their French? They used to do. They used to cut the potatoes and make those. Oh, it was so good. Anyway, with Uncle Dirty and remember Uncle Dirty?
Yeah. And Nancy Shane and Henriette Mantel and
Michael Patrick King
and Larry David
and Michael Patrick King was straight.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? I didn't even. Okay.
Yeah. He faked he was straight.
Describe that.
He had a partner.
He was not. He was nice. You know what? He was nice when he was straight.
Yeah.
He's really not nice anymore.
Well,
is that true?
Yeah.
Being gay ruins your life, Laura.
Yeah,
it's the worst thing
guess.
that can
I
happen
don't
to
know if he's very successful. But yeah, we used to bang on the door. Remember, we'd be on stage and someone would go outside and bang on the door. We'd get on the back. We had so much fun.
And you think there's a difference in the bonding that happens now?
Yeah.
First of all, there was no social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you auditioned, you had one shot. You had one shot, and you better be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, you had no say in who you followed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was, and at that time, especially at Catch Rising Star, you had no idea who was in the audience.
Yeah. But you know what? At Catch, my first audition, I was in Boston, and I auditioned like in 88 or 89, and Louis Miranda.
Yeah.
Said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have to take." Sorry, Laura. What is it again?
Oh, Laura. Yeah.
We got a guest. You're gonna have to wait a few more minutes.
Yeah.
And it was Jerry Seinfeld, and they did a half hour, and then I went on and bombed.
Yeah. That was the way.
That was for you to pass.
You didn't know who was gonna. All right. So when I started at Catch, first of all, I'm talking 82. I was at Rutgers and I did a show. Mm-hmm. They had this thing called Campus Comedy, and I had done stand up, and I don't know, I auditioned to do 5 minutes, or they let me do 5 minutes, and it was Adrian Tolsch, Bill Sheft, and Larry Amoros. Okay,
Jeez,
and it was like I still have the playbill, and and I went up and did 5 minutes, and they said, "You're really funny." And I was like, I am. I mean, from these New York comics. Bill Sheft loves telling the story. And then Adrian was doing the Monday night, Monday night was the night you hung out. I'm telling you, these shows, did they start at like 8? They went till 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was nonstop. And so I would go in every Monday to hang out. And I really thought she was going to put me on, but she never really put me on. But it was like I was watching like Larry David, Ronnie Shakes. Do you remember Ronnie Shakes?
Yes, yes.
Oh, he was so funny. And I remember I saw Carol Leiford there. And I remember
Amazing.
like I was seeing people that I saw on TV, on the Tonight Show, or Johnny or Dave, and I was 19, and I thought, I'm gonna be on the Tonight Show in 2 years, whatever.
Oh, Judy!
Yeah, it was
but you
only a matter of
you were
time.
I was so fearless. But I remember Joy and Susie, Joy Behar and Susie Essman, and Joy. I used to hang out with her daughter because she was in high school, and I was really close to her age. And Joy would go out and do sets and bring her daughter, and so
Joy was a teacher, but she also worked.
And then she worked at like
the Today Show,
and she would answer the phone.
And then she kind of haphazardly started comedy.
She
and not
did
even
stand
till
up
later, right?
Right.
Later,
but,
excuse me.
Oh, this is so interesting. So there was a club downtown called Comedy U Grand.
Oh, I remember that.
55 Grand Street. And every Thursday night was, and this is how they advertised it in the newspaper, all female comedians. It's like double down.
Yes, yeah.
And they would double down.
Yeah, it's a handicap.
Right. And Thursday night was the only night women comics got to work together.
Oh, wow.
Because if they put a woman on a show, it would be one. We never got to work together. We never got to go on the road together. And so Thursday nights was when we all sort of bonded. And over the pandemic, it was Bert and what's his name? Who was the other guy? The guy that, I don't know. There was Bert and this other owner.
I remember Bert.
And the other one, he had crazy, whatever. He's very nice. And I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyway, so they did a Zoom reunion.
Wow.
And Joy was on there, and she said if it wasn't for those Thursday nights, she would have quit doing stand-up.
Oh, that's nice.
Because you need to know that it's...
Well, it was like...
It's not a battle.
There was nothing... they wanted us to be competitive because they set it up like that.
Sure.
They set it up where there's going to be one of you.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
And we were all so vastly different as stand-ups.
Oh, yeah.
Much more variety than the men.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
And it didn't deter us from having a sisterhood, you know? It's just that we didn't get the opportunities.
That's why
that
you're in
the men
the
get.
that's why you're in the Midnight Sisterhood, correct?
Right. Midnight Sisterhood, that's right.
But 19 is young to be like bold and going to
Oh
clubs.
yeah,
yeah.
going to these clubs. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet. And then I graduated, and I just took acting classes,
But was Carson and
went,
like Letterman your exposure to stand up? Your like what piqued that interest to motivate you to go out
well,
in the
as
first
a
place?
kid, I loved. Actually, Joan Rivers was a huge
Sure.
influence on me, and I remember as a kid, and Toady Fields.
Love Toady Fields.
Me, it was
There's
Roseanne,
a-
believe it or not.
Yeah.
When
I remember
Toady
seeing
came-
her while I was in college.
When Toady came back post losing
Yes,
her leg,
yes.
there's a brilliant. She's I
I
think
saw
on
it.
Sunset, and at the beginning they showed like all the stars
Yes,
coming in, and
yes.
it's like a 1978 Lucille
Oh, it's
Ball.
the best.
Like
I watched that
love
whole thing,
Toady.
yeah.
Because my grandparents were Dean Martin Celebrity Rose Vegas people. They would
Yeah, yeah.
go, and they was
Yeah.
like Toady Fields, Foster Brooks were like their top. And
The thing about Toady, and I remember Joan too. Like as a little girl, I would watch them, and they were so inappropriate.
Yeah.
And so funny, and
Yeah.
didn't take themselves seriously, and said stuff that was bad that you didn't say.
Yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents laughed at that. My parents were old when they had my father was born in 1916, and my mother was born in 1922. And the fact
Wow.
that we're both laughing
at the same time,
at
thing.
the same shit, and my grandmother's born in 1896. And she
My
was
great
there.
grandmother was 1895.
That's great.
I knew that
Great
bitch.
grandmother.
I knew her. Yeah,
Great.
She was fabulous.
Yeah, and my grandmother lived till I was 25. We were very close. But I'm just both the fact that these generations are laughing and appreciating the same type of humor. And I knew I wanted to be a performer. And my friend Howard in college dared me for Secret Santa to do stand-up. And I got that first laugh. I will never forget that feeling.
Yeah.
It was like an out-of-body, I was like looking at myself. And I still love that feeling. Like I still get on the subway. I work at the Cellar all the time. And with my little notebook, I was just like the other night, I was like, oh my God, here I am looking at my and it's still like when I have a new joke that I'm or a bit I'm
me
going to
too.
try out.
Yeah.
I just am so excited. It's so I love the process. I love being a stand-up. I resent this other shit because
Yeah.
we had
yeah.
to be good.
Yeah.
And we had material.
Yes.
We had
We
material.
still do.
Well, there's such a
And
cool
it's still-
factor
yeah.
that I loathe about today because social media is part about you have to sell yourself as opposed to just showing up fucking funny.
And it's
Right.
just like inundating people with stuff that, and then, like somebody's like farting or whatever, or turning
Yeah.
on a air conditioner, and then that's their post.
It's
just
so
like,
funny.
yeah.
And then they think they can do an hour of stand.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what's so crazy? We were
Yes.
talking about this last night. All these
Wait a second, before
What?
I forget, where was that place where you had the first laugh?
Oh, great question.
Oh, it was on the floor in our lobby of my dorm.
Oh, okay.
And I had to make fun of everyone on the dorm. I had 2 days. I didn't go to class, and I took it so serious. It was like this, and I got that. I just remember this feeling. I had never felt like that about anything.
Yeah.
And then you go to a club and you kill, and then it's the second time,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
and you go, oh,
Oh, this is awful.
this is going to be work, but. I
Why is that
love the
everybody's
process.
story? Yeah.
I love the process. But this is the thing. I was talking about this with someone a few months ago. Like, remember we'd have this, like a bit. And then we would build upon the bit.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it would take a really long time.
Yeah.
It'd be like, and then, I'm going to add this. And then it would grow.
Yeah.
It would grow into 7 or 8 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And I don't think people do that
No.
now. And so many young comedians are like, I'm working on my new hour. I'm like, why don't you work on the next 5 minutes?
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because to us, it was like, you had to be ready
Yes.
if you got a late night spot.
Oh my God,
That
yeah.
you had to have, and you had to be fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
8,
watched
10
a showcase and someone was like halfway through, they go, okay, let me see. And they pulled their phone out and I lost my mind because like, what are you doing? This is
Right.
the time.
Yeah.
What were
Right.
you doing all day besides remembering 7 bullet points?
Right, right.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
I bring notes up sometimes. I remember Janine used to bring notes
Yeah,
up, and
yeah.
everyone used to
brings
criticize
a book
her.
on stage with her. I
Right.
love it. I saw her in 2002, and it
Yeah.
was all this post 9/11 stuff, which was great. She was the
Yeah.
first person to be like, "Don't let the Patriots like win."
Right,
it
right.
was brilliant.
Yeah.
I did my HBO special. We taped it on the same night, and I remember she didn't care. I remember it was like the biggest
Was it
thing in my life.
An hour? Did you guys do?
We did a half hour.
Right, right.
And I remember, oh my God, like I'm such a nerd. So I was like, HBO is giving me a half hour, like I took it so
Yeah.
serious. And you
Me
know,
too.
I used to do 800 fucking sets a night. You were
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah.
And she was too cool for school.
I
She was
know.
like, whatever. And I'm like, why can't I be like,
Yeah.
I want to be cool.
Yeah.
But I was such a nerd. I was so into it. But
But she wasn't. We both got nervous. Me and Janine,
Right.
and it would make me laugh. We used to do in Boston. We did Sam's, and this. Would
I remember Sam's.
This made me laugh because, like, if we went to the bathroom and I'd say to Janine, "Do you have? Are you going up next? Because there's no toilet paper." We would both like be in there for an hour,
Right,
you
right.
know, getting sick, whatever we were doing to
Mm-hmm.
get prepared. So yeah, I mean, she was and is very cool. But I remember that
It was
we
also
always had nerves,
that whole there was also this big camaraderie with Boston comics and New York comics. So, I remember and they're both major comedy towns.
Yeah.
And so I would go to Boston, and the Boston comics would come to New York, and we go
Yeah.
to Nick's. We do like a million shows, and there was definitely this back and forth and mutual respect
Yeah.
between those two cities.
Greg Fitzsimmons was on, and he was saying, and this is true, that when American comics go abroad, there isn't that like, oh, good for you, or we like that. It's not that that camaraderie. It's not that friendly, especially. Well, we were talking about bombing in Australia, but I think, like it was, and you wouldn't go up to just do anything because there are other comics that you wanted to impress,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. That is so true.
I'm a huge Joan hag. I love Joan Rivers. I saw her 3 times live, but the first time it was like, oh my God, that looks so. Before I did stand up, I was like, holy shit, that just looks fun. But I never got to meet her. Did you ever get to cross paths or ever work with her?
My God.
Like, I want to know everything.
Okay. So my friend Gary's here,
Yes.
but he's not here.
Yes.
Gary worked for her for many, many years.
I love
And
it.
he sent her a caricature and she wrote back or something. He worked for her forever.
Amazing.
On that first show, remember she had that daytime show and she was the first to have like drag queens on.
Oh, the talk show?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
yeah.
He did the cue cards. He did everything.
Crazy.
Anyway, so I knew Joan. Gary had introduced me, and
What was that like when you meet her? Are you
it's
just like,
first of all, no one made me laugh like her. Like watching her, like it was like physical, the entire body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The classiest, the kindest, the smartest, and the most humble. And I remember I used to say to her, Joan, what you've done, it's nothing. No, I didn't do anything. Just keep your money. You know?
Oh my God.
And the fearlessness she
great
had.
impression.
Thanks. Fearlessness. She, in the 5 decades she did stand up, you knew exactly where women stood in society because she was the
that
first
is so interesting.
to talk about everything: plastic surgery, divorce. You know, and her first jokes about you gotta be pretty, you know, like.
Yeah.
And that the library card joke where it's like no guy's gonna like put his finger up your I'm not gonna do
No
it.
man
Right,
ever put his hand up a skirt looking for your library
yeah
card.
no man ever put his hand up his skirt looking
Yeah.
for and then you think about this whole thing where she should have been the heir apparent
Correct.
to Johnny Carson.
Oh, well, yeah.
And
yeah.
all those guys who co-host, or guest hosted, you would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
All those guys went on to do other things, and he never said a fucking word.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Never did. And she gets this opportunity, and it's like, how dare she?
Yeah.
How dare she? But also, I remember before that happened, and to this day, I think here's the most white Nebraska, Gaisha, like non-Jew,
Yeah.
thinking this short, loud Jew from New York is the funniest thing. Like,
Yeah.
couldn't be polar opposite. And then her life falls apart.
100%.
Her husband dies of suicide, and she gets on stage and talks about it. I mean, when she died, even Chris Rock said she is the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
Yeah.
You know?
Her, I was just thinking too, like based on what you had said, it's almost like the men in this industry only let women get so far.
Right.
And then it becomes a threat or whatever it is. Like when, it's like there are no women on at TV after 10 o'clock at night or
Right.
whatever. It's still, and then the young woman who is hosting a late night show, Taylor Tomlinson.
Yeah.
She's not even hosting a show, really. It's a game show.
Right,
And it's just like...
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
because you worked on Rosie O'Donnell's show. It's like that seems to be the only space that they give women
No,
in
it's during
television and
daytime.
daytime. But why
Daytime.
is that? Like,
Yeah.
what
Because
do
they
you
think
it is?
women are home during
Right.
the day. It's still this 1950s mentality.
Yeah.
Who's watching TV? Women. Women who are home and gay guys.
And
Yeah,
but
homemakers.
on another level, though, because Rosie O'Donnell wasn't out then publicly, but same thing with like Ellen. It's like also this weird safe space where they only allow queer people to be monster success, right? Rosie had crazy numbers, Ellen has crazy numbers, but in late night there's no queer representation unless you're Ross, the quirky intern, or this adjacent.
and you're a huge stereotype.
Yeah.
Precisely,
Yeah,
you're a walking
The
stereotype.
thing about Rosie, though, I worked on that show. I was a writer-producer for 2 years.
but in the 2 years, it blew up like that.
Well, I remember...
Homos and homemakers.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
home.
remember thinking so many times when we were on the set, everyone on that staff was either like a theater nerd from high school or gay.
Right.
And I remember thinking, if America knew that their favorite show was put on by a bunch of gay misfits and theater geeks, what would they think?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was the most entertaining. And what she did for Broadway is...
She always tried to bring that in.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
why she didn't get prices right, because she said she wanted all the Barker's Beauties to be like Broadway dudes doing musical numbers.
They're never
going
to give that to a woman.
Anyway, yeah.
Right.
I know.
But yeah, I've always found that interesting that there's no woman in late night. Like, and it's infuriating. And it's all white guys named Jimmy.
All the time.
Or Jim.
Currently, they're all
Jeez.
Jimmys. But
Yeah.
you've done a lot. Like, you've done a lot of sitcom work. You've done, like, especially, like, talk show work. But when you were starting comedy, you're talking about this camaraderie and stuff. Were you just in it to see where it took you? Did you have, like, I want to be in television. I want to be
Okay,
a Joan Rivers.
My second off-Broadway show was called The Judy Show, My Life as a Sitcom, because I was addicted to sitcoms growing up. And it
Like
was...
what? Which ones?
Oh, my God. Mary Tyler Moore,
course.
which is my ringtone. First, I got addicted to the Brady Bunch first, and I
Okay.
just wanted to live there. I wanted to fucking live in that house. I wanted to crawl into my TV.
Yes.
You can have that house.
It's available.
I know. I heard.
It's available.
and you know, the Partridge Family. I mean, I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
go, and I love sitcoms and I love variety shows, but Norman Lear, Maude, or any Norman Lear show.
I met Norman Lear once, and I couldn't believe my life. It was unreal.
Right.
And it was just in passing, and it was like one of those where it was like, my heroes are Malin Pugh Davis and Bob Carroll Jr. And he goes, I knew them. I was like,
Wow.
what is living?
Right.
But
But you know, you think about, you know, at that time, everyone watched TV at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And so, his shows were so socially relevant, and that's what people spoke about. And those shows would not get on a network.
Oh yeah.
Today,
All in
Maude-
the Family would never be.
No,
on.
Yeah,
what about
correct.
Maude with the abortion episode?
Or
Yeah.
even just the age that she was portraying.
Right,
They wouldn't put
right.
that on.
And so, and the reason that they were able to discuss all these subversive topics was because you were so invested in them. They were a part of your family, these people. I
Yeah.
mean, the Jeffersons, Good Times, One Day at a Time. Like, it was as if they were my family, you know, these characters. And I really thought I was going to be Rhoda. I was going to be on a sitcom as the best friend. And I really... And so the show I did was about how I came here. I was on All American Girl with Margaret Cho.
I'm opening for her right now.
She's the best.
She's
the
amazing.
best. Give her a big hug for me.
I will. I didn't know you were on All American Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Because I watched that in real time. I watched that on television.
Yeah.
Back then.
I was gigantic.
That's
so
great. Okay, go
all
ahead.
right.
Sorry.
And I came here and I did that show, and then we all got fired. And then I did another show on UPN called Blame It on Ernie. I got another show right away, and I was so stupid. I'm like, is that good? And they're like, oh my God, is that good? And but I really thought that I'm gonna be a character on a sitcom. And I remember, it was the funniest. Like people when we started, people were literally, because Roseanne got this TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Right.
so every comic, mostly male, their entire act was geared towards getting a development deal. So they would rewrite their act so it was like a treatment for a sitcom. Like,
Totally.
I live with my parents, and my grandmother across the street, and my father is a garbage man, whatever.
They're like listing all the cast members for the show. Yeah.
So that is exactly what they did. And a lot of us didn't do that. We just wanted to be comics, which was stupid. But anyway. And so I am one of the only comics that never got a development deal.
Yeah.
And then
I never did.
You never did?
No.
Most everyone.
But
got-
it was the Tim Allen, it was the
Yes,
Brad Butler,
yes,
it was all the
yes.
people who
Well,
got.
but what I'm saying is I never got that development deal. I
Thing.
never. And when I was here, my ex, who's the mother of my two children, she got pregnant. And she said, you have to pick, Judy, LA or New York. And I was only in LA for work. And
Yeah.
I wanted my kids to grow up in New York.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from. My mother was, I grew up in New Jersey, but my mother grew up in Manhattan and was always like, "Ugh, I just wish I could have brought you guys up in New York. Because it would have been so, and like you're weird, there's someone weirder. There's a group of weird kids. No one, I used to tell my kids, if anyone's bullying anyone at school, you stand, and they're like, Mommy, no one bullies. Like, shut the fuck up. No one cares.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so great.
I came back and my agents were really mad. And I came back to New York in 1996, I guess. And I kept my place in LA. Mm-hmm. And Henry was born, my older son. And I came out of the closet.
Yeah.
I couldn't not do material about my family. And, I say in my show, and it's true, that I came out because of my son, but it was precisely because of him that it made it easier for me to come out because people were more, I had been working in the straight clubs, and people were more apt to be able to hear about, being a gay parent rather than, I'm figuring my girlfriend.
Right.
But I still had a lot of blowback, and it had a huge effect on my career.
Can we talk about that? Before you came out, were you...
Wait, I need to know, what is fingering?
Laura, it's a medical exam.
What are you talking about?
You just said, I'm fingering my girlfriend.
That was like one of the first jokes I wrote. I was like, don't call me gay. I just finger men more than I finger women. So call that whatever
you don't know
want.
what fingering is?
I do know.
I'll draw you a picture. But
it does.
I'd love to see that picture of you drawing a vagina. Okay.
What were you prior to that? Were you trying to stay away from like queer material on stage, or would you talk? Like,
it was so interesting because if you look at my special in '94 or '95, I'm dabbling, and I started working in Provincetown, and everyone was like, "What?" And I was talking about my lesbian roommates, and I was very adjacent.
But was it conscious, or were you?
I didn't have material. I didn't feel comfortable yet. Mm-hmm. It was really a process.
Yeah.
You probably were bi though in the beginning. You used to date guys, right?
No.
I feel like it's just always.
I did in college. I dated a guy, and I swear to God, having sex was the most unnatural thing. My body would tighten up. Like I was like, oh, I hate this. But being with a female. So I'm definitely like a Kinsey. I love men though. I'm not like and I have straight sons. I mean, I love guys. I had always had straight guy friends and gay guy friends. I'm definitely a boy mom. But I didn't date guys.
You realize that, sorry to get too into it, but
no, it's fine.
You said having your first son made it easier for you to come out for two audiences or for you or both?
I think it was for both because you have a child and you see how the world treats you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, your kid has no idea that you're different. Mm-hmm. And the thing was, I thought to myself, what kind of mother would I be if I am doing my job, which is truth, and my act was based on truth. I wasn't like a character or whatever, and just being like, we don't talk about this. He was proud of his family. Yeah. I was proud of my family, and I just became this militant, like in your face. I'm gay.
Yeah.
And who the fuck are you to tell me?
Yeah.
I can't. My family is different than your family is not equal to your. And that was really the impetus. But I had been playing with, how am I going to talk about this?
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have any material about my boring relationship with my ex,
But what was the blowback you experienced?
Oh, my God. Well, audiences, you could definitely feel the audience. Like a lot of people would come see me because they had seen me on a HBO or whatever. And then I would do a show and I'd say, I'm gay. And it was like...
You could feel the people's the body language
the shift. Like, wait, she's not who...
Yeah.
Did you get one of these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a shock.
It was betrayal. You
people
betrayed
would leave.
them. Shut up.
No, I'm not
Really?
kidding.
Yeah.
People would leave. People would say shit. But the greatest part was, I remember one time, I think we were in Houston, and I had this whole bit about how all these people can get married and I can't get married. Like, Eric and Lyle Menendez. They can fucking get married.
They are married.
Right,
They
they're
are
married,
fucking
and
are
I
married.
couldn't get married.
Oh,
right,
God,
and Mary Gay Letourneau can marry her fucking 12-year-old student, and Jerry Sandusky can molest 1,000 boys, and he has more rights than me, like literally more rights than me.
100%.
Yeah.
And so was like, it was really a big, huge part of my, it became a huge part of my act. And, you know, I always talked about my mother. She was so fucking hilarious. But, and that is what really shifted everything for me. And I don't know, I couldn't stop. So one time in Houston, this guy's waiting for me after the show. He looks like, you know,
which is
a
terrifying.
white supremacist. Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, I just wanted to say, I never understood. He was in the army. He was served in, I don't know where. But he said, I now understand why gay people want to get married. And I was like, this is the power.
Wow.
And now the letters I get and these 30-year-old kids, I would go in my basement and I was like, who is this woman who's a big lesbian talking about having a family? Like, it really helped kids.
Totally.
Go, you know, and so that to me, the fact that I have no money, I still have one bathroom in my apartment, but that is
valuable.
the integrity, the just knowing that I didn't. I mean, I could have waited. I don't know. It's also funny because I used to host every gay thing. I used to be invited to everything, and now no one invites me to anything. Because then all these famous people started coming out after they made their millions, and it's like, who are you? We have Robin Roberts. You know, who are you?
Yeah.
We have, you know, this one or that one, and so I have a shitload of awards from like the early aughts.
Yeah.
You know, gay award for this and a GLAAD award for that and all this stuff. And now it's like, it's so fun. And to watch these trans people, these non-body, like they get on nothing. Not even and it's like, do you understand? Like Bob Smith, remember my friend Bob Smith? Okay, he was the first.
I don't remember that. Wait, before I forget,
Yeah.
I remember you used to do this bit, which I love.
Shit.
When
Oh my
you were
God.
a kid, you said
When I was a kid.
When you got you were talking about being a kid and getting tall
Right.
right away, like we both did, and you said that your mom said, "Oh, Judy, go upstairs and put your dad's pants on."
No, yeah.
What's
My
that?
mother used to, because I used to come home, I really got bullied. Like, it was incessant. It was
How
like
tall were
Bigfoot,
you?
Sasquatch. I was 6 feet at 13.
Oh, okay.
And it was just, and it was like, you know, 1974, whatever, 73. No, 75. Whatever, I don't know. But, and I used to, I had a joke because my mother used to tell me they're jealous of you. That's why they're picking on you.
Oh.
Remember? So I'd say, Mom, everyone's picking on me. And she would say, Judith, don't worry about it. They're jealous of you. Now go upstairs and put on your father's clothes.
I love it. Judith, I remember that.
So
song. Judith.
which was true. I used to come home from school. I was a latchkey kid, and I used to put on my father's clothes because I was such a fucking les.
Wow.
Yeah, and I used to like want to be a boy and want to be in boys' clothes, and then they would come home and I'd put everything back. But
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Did you ever see those? They're kind of drag kingish of Katharine Hepburn.
Oh,
she
yeah,
does the
absolutely,
whoosh and
yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
she's in a suit, and
Yeah.
she's like
I love that.
masculining
Now
around.
I
yeah.
dress. I don't wear skirts anymore. I'm done. I wear suits. I wear whatever the fuck I want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable in skirts, and I never wore women's shoes. You know, like I just never felt like, and that's where I feel like I get this whole non-binary thing. It's like
100%.
I see like the cheer, like if I was in high school and I look at the cheer, I have nothing, like they're girly. You're like, I'm not girly.
Right.
I'm like in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm half and half.
That's
But, so
how I
what,
feel.
what is
Yeah,
that?
what
People
is
want
that?
to call
I
it
sometimes,
something.
if I'm putting on a skirt or stockings or something, I'll think,
Oh, I hate stockings.
am I
hate
getting
stockings.
away with it? I honestly
Really?
think
Are
that.
you pulling it
like
off?
I'm putting, like I feel like I'm getting dressed in drag Like now, I'm dressed
Really?
like a mechanic. Yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
You look great. I love what you're wearing.
No, but I
today.
just
you
always
look
feel like.
really
But
cool.
you're always
She was always the
stylish.
hottest.
See,
No,
too.
no.
Yes,
This is what everybody
everyone,
says. Everybody
she
says
was
this.
the
I love
hottest.
it.
Everyone fucking loved her.
Oh,
I'm not
get
kidding.
out.
Yeah.
Shut up, Laura.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
All right.
And also, it's mixed
And
with
she
that,
was funny.
That dark
Yeah,
humor.
and it was the dark, and it was like she was fucking too cool for school, and she was nice. Like she wasn't a cunt.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do you?
I want to call my special. I wasn't a cunt.
yeah.
So you've done a bunch of specials, but you are like a serious writer. You talked about the second play you've done.
You're doing- yeah,
you're working on a play
plays.
right
So
now.
I wrote a
stand-up.
book
Okay.
called "Yes, I Can Say That." When
Yeah.
they come for the comedians, you're
Fantastic.
Do you know
all
Molly
in
Ivins?
trouble.
Did you ever know Molly Ivins, a political writer?
Yeah, I know who she is.
One of her books was Molly Ivins Can't Say That, Can She? That's like one of my favorite books. Is the
Whatever.
title.
Thanks for reading. Yes, I can say that. When they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble. So I wrote this because they asked me to write it, and then it came out during the pandemic because that's my fucking that is my career.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And
What was-
then we did a show, a one-person show about it last year. But yeah,
Is that like the format you like to work in? Because they're kind of hand in hand, like working on a set and working on a show. Do you marry the two, or are they separate?
I never wanted to be a writer, and I remember those guy comics who were like mediocre comics.
Yeah, who all became writers.
We all became, like-
I worked with them on Roseanne, and
Right.
writing with a bunch of just mediocre
Right.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to perform.
Yeah.
But now I really appreciate writing. I wrote on. Pamela Adlon hired me to write on Better Things,
Oh,
which was
great.
such an amazing experience.
And what God, having a writing job in New York is unheard of.
Well,
That's fucking amazing.
Well, it was on Zoom because it was during the pandemic.
Oh.
And then when Henry was born, Rosie said, "You don't want to go on the road. Why don't you come work here?" And I was only going to work there for 13 weeks, but I stayed for 2 years.
Well-
the only people that have ever supported me, women, Margaret,
Yeah.
Rosie,
Same.
Pamela, yeah.
Only people who give me opportunities and share
Right.
it in my little life is like all women, hands
Women.
down. In comedy, it's like and every like straight male in particular is never.
Oh, no.
There's always some
No,
secret
they got their
motive.
buddies. They got their buddies.
Yeah,
I
it's
rarely.
so weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say I rarely get hired by men or women, but I have this thing in my act that honestly, if I could hire women, if I was in a position to just hire women, I would. But I don't have that much housework.
Right.
There was this this kid. I
See, she's funny.
No.
In like junior high, I was not out. It was the 90s, right? So it was
Yeah.
still not safe at all.
Yeah.
You'd still get your ass kicked and stuff. So, but nor did I know everything about myself. Slash, there was this other kid who I didn't know was gay till decades later. But it was after summer break, when the first day of school, and the first thing he couldn't wait to talk to me about was, had I watched the Rosie O'Donnell show? I'm like, what?
wow.
Seriously, I was like, that was his queer beacon.
Right,
Like the thing
right.
that he got to was like, and for some reason he related that to me. It was like, well, that. Like we couldn't say faggot because we didn't know we were
Right,
that.
right.
What was it like working on like when you work around a show, any kind of show where that many famous people and creatives are like coming in as like guests and stuff? Are you enamored with that? Or are you?
I was the human interest producer. I brought all the real people on
Oh,
and
okay.
all the kids.
Oh, wow.
And it was hard. I had to find, Rosie would be like, "Oh, this cab driver gave me a piece of gum last night. Apparently he gives a piece of gum to every one of his riders. Find him." And it was like, oh my God. But what I liked about being the human interest is like I knew Rosie. You have to write in their voice, but I knew that her interactions with regular people was really what people loved. I mean, they loved the celebrities because she was always a fan,
Right.
But it was that those interactions with regular people. So I would stay on. I would stay on the stage and I would write cue cards, like ask them this. I would do these really, I would pre-interview them and I'd say, but I knew her sense of humor and what would make her laugh. So, I mean, we had a kid on who was obsessed with vacuum cleaners. We had the spelling bee champion. Like we had so many, and I went to so many schools to get kids, so that I really liked. I liked writing jokes, but it's a lot at 7:30 in the morning to have fucking jokes written. But I did like because you could create this segment, out of nothing. It was like doing crowd work, which everyone discouraged us to do, and
I
now
know.
everyone
God.
is
This is
like,
what I
I
can't
have a
believe.
crowd work special.
This
I'm
is-
like, no,
Yeah, that's not
That was
material.
like-
that's
it
not
was the
writing.
right.
It's
I know.
so hack, and that's
Yeah,
the thing.
it
So
is.
there's a brilliant interview where Roseanne interviews Phyllis Diller, and it's like each segment on YouTube is like 10 minutes. There's 6 parts, and the first 2 parts, Phyllis is just giving it away, right? She's how to say hello to an audience and all like her background.
Yeah, I interviewed her. She's amazing. Go ahead.
I want to talk about
She was
that.
right, yeah.
Okay. Well, so one of the things she was like, if she's talking about being prepared and being the person who's on stage, you're the one. She's like, imagine asking the audience a question. I'm like,
Right.
yes.
She didn't like that. She didn't like that.
Yeah.
at
It
all.
was so hack. It was like the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah, it's unprofessional.
There's
I-
footage
yeah.
of Lucille Ball's second husband, Gary Morton's warm-up act on her 70s sitcom, and it is the worst thing you've ever seen.
But there are, like, I do crowd work. Paula Poundstone does crowd work, but I don't start from nothing.
Right.
It's like a specific, I'm in a bit
yeah.
and I see a reaction, or,
Right.
it's not like, what's your name? Like I come from a place.
Well, and Paula's
And
first
it-
special was kind of revolutionary because it
Yeah.
involved having to mic the audience so
Right.
that you could get that
Yeah.
second part of it.
And
Right.
I think too, like when people are doing the Instagram stuff or Twitter, they set up their crowd work.
Well,
like
it's super
sometimes they'll
produced.
set, yeah, they'll set up.
Everything is produced.
It's edited,
Yeah.
and the audience is
Yeah.
sometimes punched in. Like it's because they have to make it go fast, or they'll show the same clip of the audience laughing again, like the same. Like
You know what's so weird? Oh my God, you're gonna love this. But so,
It's
what
me.
the fuck is
What?
with your
I'm
watch?
sorry. It's what? It's just it's always.
It's
loud.
annoying.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
But I can't afford the quiet new ones. I have to take the old.
this is a
clunky-
fucking Fitbit, like
That-
43 years old.
So am I.
I love this guy had such a great bit about that. Tom, now I'm going to space his last name, but with the Fitbit, like he doesn't want to know how many steps he's taken. He wants to know how many he has left. Which
Oh,
I
that's
thought-
funny. That's
great.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho, go ahead.
So, I have never stopped doing stand up. That was the thing when I was on All American Girl. I remember thinking, because we all thought, oh, we'll get on a sitcom and we'll never do stand up again. I couldn't wait to do Margaret, and they used to make so much fun of me because we would have dinner together and I'd be like, I got to go do a spot. I got to do a spot. Remember Margaret Smith?
She's my favorite, and I
just saw her last year. She's the greatest.
She's the reason. She and Roseanne, I think, are the reason I started doing stand up because I thought I want to be a writer. I want to be write materially like them.
She was really helpful to me too.
She's
She
great.
also
Margaret Smith?
helped me come out of
Margaret
the
Smith.
closet. Yeah.
Okay.
So we used to be on stage, and you would be engaged with the audience, and then they started getting phones, and everything changed, and it was. You were really fighting. Like people always say, "What's the difference between theater and stand-up?" In theater, you get on stage and you have their attention.
Yes. Correct.
You have to keep their attention. In comedy, you have to get their attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing is, and there's so many distractions. And so a few years ago, I don't know, 3 years ago, I remember I was at the Cellar and I'm doing a set and I'm like, oh my God, this feels like the old days. Oh my God, this audience is so great and everyone's paying attention. And it was the day they implemented the no phones policy,
great.
where they have to put their phone in
In
a
a bag.
in a bag.
Yeah.
And I almost started crying on stage
You got it.
because it was like, oh my God, this is what it's, this
Yeah.
is the way it's so awful.
But Manny, I remember, used to put the women on last. It was always
Yes.
me and Nancy Shane. We had the 1 and the 1:15 a.m.
Right.
Damn.
And I just saw Jon Stewart on this thing, and he said, "Yeah, I was always on last," but they thought that no, you weren't. We
No.
were always on last.
You know who does the last spot now every night? Attell.
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
was there the
Amazing.
first night Dave Attell ever went on stage. I was emceeing at Comedy U Grand. He was a student at NYU. He came in, and I remember he's like, "Oh, this suck," and he went on stage and he did this joke about everyone has. And it was right when everyone had anorexia or started talking about it. And he goes, "Everyone has anorexia. I walked by Macy's, and the mannequins had their fingers down their throat." And I thought that is the fucking funniest joke.
He's so good.
And he gets off
That's
stage,
good.
he's like, "Well, and I'm like, you are so funny. You are the funniest. And he's still.
Well, he used to work at the door at the Improv.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I can't remember what network it was, but Anthony Jeselnik had a talk show for a hot second, and his guests were Joan Rivers and Dave Attell, and Justin like is a little ahead of his skis, and David Tell just sits back and goes, I used to have a show on Comedy Central too. And just sits there and says like, look at me now.
Right.
He was the first. Austin, Texas, where I'm from, and it's like a famous person's in town. Everybody knows it. And when Dave had his show and filmed an episode there, people were flocking downtown. They wanted to get
and one of the greatest people in the entire world.
Who were? I mean, people you come across, comedians. Are there still people you like want to work with, or like heroes that you come across in your past, or you like met everybody?
I pretty much know everybody.
Like what? Okay, wait. Oh, that's what I want to ask. Like Phyllis Diller, you said you
interviewed
her.
There was a woman. Remember that women something festival? There were all these women.
Yeah.
The
Lilith Fair.
I forgot what it was. No, it's not some lesbo shit. It was.
Was it women in comedy?
It was in I don't know. So I did an interview with Phyllis, and I mean, she's another one I fucking loved when I was growing up. But her style of comedy, one-liners, and the fact that she had created this character, that her husband was Fang, and this, but she was so brilliant on so many levels. She was a concert pianist, and she was, I guess, watercolor. I don't know if she did.
She made paintings.
Yeah, she was a painter. And she had the way she did stand-up. She didn't talk to the audience. She was very prepared. And she was 37 years old when she started.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
37 years old.
Her 1977 HBO special, home box office special, is unreal because it's like it's all one-liners.
Right.
But when she starts like her jokes about her mother-in-law, there's 30 one-liners.
Right.
And there's no real you can't meme mentally. I'm like, what's the segue from one to the other than the banner topic of mother-in-law so fat.
Right.
And she doesn't blink. Like that's why I asked you too, because it was like Joy Behar. People have these haphazard ways of getting into comedy. I'm so interested when people are 19 and focused in one.
I was online just last night looking for a fucking one of. I wanted to find one of Phyllis Diller's like cigarette holders.
Oh yeah.
Like a real one that she owns.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere.
Well, there were two that were gone like 20 years ago, and there's one that's I guess like $700.
I might be speaking out of turn here, but Margaret Cho has like a portrait of Joan Rivers that is made out of all these female things owned by female comedians. And
really?
Yes, it's stunning. But I think she has, it's like Phyllis's Percocet, like thing, like pill box or something like that.
Wow.
It's part of the portrait. It all blends together.
How cool!
I think it's really bizarre, but it says like Phyllis Diller on like the little thing, which is magic.
There are other like Mom's Mabley was really funny. I remember her. I don't know if you got to look up her at the Academy Awards.
Oh no!
And she's with I think Chris Christopherson. She's about to give an award. And she's just like, oh, fuck it. And she takes her teeth out. And so, yes, she was hilarious. But the first monologist stand-up female was Jean Carroll. And you would love her.
Yeah.
She was really the first, and she worked with like Alan King and all those guys. Alan King stole a joke from her, and they couldn't believe that this woman was writing this great material, and the guys would like take her material. And she was on Ed Sullivan a lot. Look her up; she's amazing.
Jean Carroll.
Yeah.
I really wish there was more like literature and like evidence of like Mae West's like plays and writings.
Right.
Like I mean like 30s Mae West and stuff where she was like getting shut down.
Right.
Because I feel like she's also in that department where she was writing everything and just speaking through characters, but like funny, sassy.
But it's funny because I talk about this in my show and my book. But when Joan was in college, a friend of hers said, "Come down and see this guy, Lenny Bruce."
Wow.
And she went down to. Oh, Lenny's here.
That's the ghost of Lenny.
Yeah.
And she went down to see him, and she said, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, he was on stage telling the truth, only truth, and making it funny. And she said, that's because she really wanted to be an actress. She goes, that's what I want to do. But when she was that age, there were no female comics for her to look up to.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We didn't have it.
Didn't exist.
They didn't. She didn't have it, and we had them. And now these young fuckers don't even.
They don't know. The other problem is the young people don't know anything today. There's like no link to, even though you have history here. when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, there was all this nostalgia for the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Right,
there was a
right.
classic era or whatever all that was. So you had references coming up, whether you saw it or not. You didn't have to rely on an algorithm to
Right.
like kick you some accurate history.
Exactly.
Or especially queer relevance. It's so weird to watch people fight for something and all of a sudden it's here and it's just like it never was a problem.
Right. There's a new Netflix documentary that I'm in about the history of LGBT.
It's
that's
comedy.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
It's coming out in June.
In June, it's we're going to go to the Tribeca, Paige Hurwitz.
Because it's from the Greek theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, Paige.
No, not that.
Oh, it's just a documentary.
It's a documentary, yeah.
Paige and Wanda produced my first half hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they Paige. Speaking of women who've like helped me
Yeah.
out, Paige has thrown me so many bones.
I was-
Trying to help
Oh,
me
that's
out.
so nice.
Yeah, big time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want someone to produce my fucking special.
It's telling me.
I was shocked that when Mary Tyler Moore came out, even now there aren't any single women, heading a sitcom. There's not just one woman.
Well,
there's Roseanne.
Pamela
Yeah.
did, but that's over.
Yeah.
Better things.
Yeah.
Oh, it has to be Mrs. Maisel. She has to be like
A single woman, or
She
or
has to be
that,
like a character,
Does
like a
everyone-
fictional.
Like everyone comes up to me and goes, "What do you think of Mrs. Maisel?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I did watch it, and then I realized I was watching it for the apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it for the clothes.
And I, they're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, no one in that socioeconomic group at that time would be doing fucking stand-up.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So-
the shit she was saying on stage, she could have never said.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she would have been booed off, or get
But
her out of-
you know that Joan actually did a set downtown, and the audience didn't like her, and Lenny Bruce left her a note that said, it was them. It was, something
yeah,
like that.
it's,
and she kept it.
You're right, they're wrong.
Yeah, you're right, they're wrong. And she kept it in her bra until she did her first Tonight Show.
Amazing.
The first time I saw her live, which was magic, was at a beautiful theater, and I was way in the back, and she came out. It's one of my favorite things ever is at the Paramount Theater. I never saw her do it again, but I couldn't, whatever. She was like, "Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you so much for coming and paying to be at the show, and to the sponsors and the front row. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. These people paid to see me."
Right.
Ha, ha,
And the
ha.
whole place went nuts, and it was like she couldn't do any wrong at that point.
Right, of course.
She was on our side.
Yeah.
And it was just this like cakewalk. It was
When
beautiful.
the last time I saw her was actually right before she died, and she was performing in P-Town, and she's like, I said, "I'm coming to the first show." She's like, and then she's like, "Come hang out with me in between shows." And so me and Elisa, we hung out with her in between shows and had a little wine, and we're sitting there. And she's like, "Let's do a Vine video," and I had no idea what a Vine video was. She was
funny.
so on the pulse. She
Yeah.
knew everything. We did a Vine video about.
But see, that's why I think I need to adapt and advance and like move on with that because she really would have.
She would have, but as I say at the end of my show that I want to go on tour with.
Yeah,
is
let's talk about it.
All of these people that influenced us, Phyllis, Toady, Joan, where they would be canceled, or they would not be able to do that.
Well,
now.
Roseanne is canceled pretty much, but
well,
that's her.
Don't you think it's because of her mental illness?
Yeah, I do think so.
Yeah.
Well, it's that. Yeah, because that show was pivotal. Like,
Well,
Roseanne,
her special was that was a turning point for all of us. I think
Yeah.
all female comics going, "Oh my God,"
It's possible.
But she's really lost her mind.
It's possible.
sad.
It's different. It is sad.
It's
'cause
sad.
Her comedy meant a lot to me. Like,
Oh, of
big
course.
time. Okay, so wait, what is the show you're working on now? Or you were just
So we did a show. B.D. Wong directed it at 59 East 59 called Yes, I Can Say That, and we want to tour it. So that's that, and I'm still doing stand up, and I have my podcast, which we're rebranding.
yes.
You
were
we
just
tell the
on
story. We tell the
What?
story.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Tell the story of that, Judy, about your podcast. Why you have to
So
rebrand
my
it.
podcast is called Kill Me Now. I started in 2015, and it's because, as Laura knows, I get aggravated. Everything's a 10. And I can't I hate people. But I love people. But I still am like, get the fuck, move.
Judy enters screaming.
Yeah, pretty much.
She got out of
Joan
her car.
enters talking.
She said,
Yeah.
"I couldn't find this place. We drove around 80 fucking times.
Yeah,
Where's
I
the
was like,
hell
I
do you
can't
live?"
fucking find this place. He got here before me, and I was like, where the fuck this fuck? So, and Waze, what the fuck?
No.
Okay. And so, I hate injustice, but I also get so aggravated at people. Like, because so many people are so oblivious and don't realize they're fucking ruining your day.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm walking, trying to get up the subway stairs, and you're staring at your fucking phone like, It's like, move! The world's not fucking about you. You know?
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
called it Kill Me Now, and I would ask at the end of my interviews, what pisses you off more than anything in the entire world? Because everyone gets pissed, even though they act like they're so, And now, if you look up Kill Me Now, it's like, are you thinking of taking your own life? So it's not good. And then also with all this stuff that's going on with the Jews and so it's terrible. So we're changing the name.
So what is the new name?
Well, I haven't told anyone yet.
Okay, so
the
it's
big
it's
reveal.
It's going to be a big
off the
reveal.
record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you'll.
Okay.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
And you're still out doing stand up live. You said
all
Rochester
the
and things
time.
like that.
I love it. I
And
think I would die if I couldn't do stand up.
I find it's the weirdest thing I'm like.
I want to go
addicted
with
to.
you. I'm sorry.
Let's go.
I would love to, because I'm really trying hard to just remember on stage, like to
Right.
remember 40 minutes or even
Right.
half an hour. So
Right.
I'm going to go with you. I'll be your opener.
You can be my opener.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That'd be great.
I
I'll
love
just
that.
drive y'all.
Okay, good.
I'll be the driver.
Yeah.
Remember that's how some people used to get gigs.
Oh, I know.
I'll drive you. Is that
Yeah,
the way
they would
in?
be like, I have a car. It would, these new comics.
I always thought it was the club back home would always do the thing where you were the host and they'd wait till the end of the night and they'd be like, hey, do you mind giving that?
No.
And I'd be like, oh my God, that's going to kill
That's
if they see
crazy.
the inside of my truck, they're never going to
But when we started, the host was the star of the show.
Yeah.
Right? It was like Belzer was the host at Stand Up New York. I mean, at Catch a Rising
love
Star.
Richard Belzer.
Yeah.
And they always made sure the host was really skilled. And now, the most important job
is the great.
is which is, you have to start the show. You have to bring the audience back if someone sucks. You have to deal with whatever the fuck, you got to keep it
it is
moving.
the hardest job.
You have
It
to
is
be
the hardest.
good.
And that's why I did it as much as possible when I first started, because
you
I wanted to be really
learn.
strong on stage. And you got
Yeah.
more stage time. But they now give that job to the least
Oh, yeah.
qualified
Experienced,
and least experienced.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
You mentioned Richard Belzer. My mom took just a couple times out of our childhood to point out a few things that she thought was funny. One was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. One was a Gallagher special. And one day, out of the blue, she just gave me a Richard Belzer book and said, I think you'll like this.
He was the nicest, too.
I really.
Yeah, he was such a
Wasn't he
nice
such a great guy?
I remember how sweet he was.
Yeah.
Just even catch. He met my mom and I were at his book signing, and he was just really sweet about my mom was totally starstruck. And,
Yeah,
great.
I love
and
that.
he made it sound like we had worked together on some.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's-
are you Laura? And I was like,
Yeah, he was the sweetest.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I know I ask a lot of questions, but
No,
thanks
I don't care. I
Thanks
love
for the
you.
convo. I love you too. It's really happy to
So
have
good
you
to
here.
see
Oh,
you.
my God.
Yay.
Laura.
I know. I'm coming with you. I'll
right.
just carry your bags.
So, where
Yeah.
can people find you on the internet
Okay,
and all that stuff?
Okay,
What's
so
your-
I'm at Judy Gold on Instagram, fucking X, and Threads, JEWDYGOLD, because I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a really good thing right now. So at Judy Gold. What else?
What's your address? What's your phone number?
Okay, nine. No.
No.
I wasn't gonna do it. My book is Yes, I Can Say That. You could get it anywhere. The audiobook was in the New York Times.
Oh, wait,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You were just on CNN for what? Cancel culture.
Oh, right. So it
Yeah.
was MSNBC. I was in
I
this
beg your pardon.
documentary about, it's called Canceled, about cancel culture. I'm in this new film Paige did, and Wanda.
It comes out in June, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Called Outstanding.
Nice.
Yes.
That's
Isn't
good.
that
I like
good?
that.
It's beautiful,
That's
right?
really
We
good.
love a gay pun.
Yeah. I'm in Provincetown all summer. I work there all summer, and I work on all new material. I have a residency, and I do 3 shows a week, and it's the greatest.
Amazing.
That's
Yeah, and I play
fantastic.
tennis.
Yeah.
Hey, Julie,
wait, do you
so
play
you-
badminton?
When I grew up, I used to play badminton.
If you ever want to play, call me.
I love badminton.
I just played the other day.
Okay.
We're trying to start
Fuck
a league.
pickleball. I hate fucking
Yes!
pickleball.
Fuck pickleball,
Fucking
start
shit.
badminton.
Fucking bullshit
You-
pickleball.
Judy,
Yes.
are you full? I mean, did you do the 23andMe and all, or not 23andMe, but are you full,
I did.
full blown Jewish?
99 point.
Full blown?
It was 99.8, and now it's 99.3.
What happened?
I don't know. I have some Sardinian and Neanderthal.
Wow.
Neanderthal.
Yeah.
That registers?
Yeah.
That shows up?
But 99.3 And then Elisa, my lover, is 99.9.
Hold
I have
on.
a joke about her, how I'm 99.8. I say that on stage. And she's 99.9 because they took off 0.01% for rhinoplasty.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like to say I'm 55% Ashkenazi.
No way!
But I can give you a deal, maybe 50%.
That's funny. Are you really 55?
Yeah, my dad's full on. My dad's full blown, like 100% on both sides.
Did you know that?
Well, I knew my dad was. Yeah.
All your life?
Yeah.
And you never mentioned it to me?
No, well, here's what, my bullshit, I'm not, now it's going to go into the next hour or whatever, but my dad was having an affair with my mother. He was married, had 2 kids, and had an affair with my mother, but his parents were Jewish on both sides. They grew up in the Bronx. He grew up in the Bronx and used to hang out with Buddy Hackett.
Oh, God.
What?
I
You
have.
didn't tell
I
me
opened
that.
for
Are you
Buddy
kidding?
Hackett. At,
What?
Yes, I
That's
opened for
nuts.
him
Shut
because
up.
I used to go to the Catskills all the time.
Oh my God.
And so I opened for him. Was it at Grossinger's or the Concord? Might have been the Concord. It was like at the end of, they were really trying to keep it open.
Wow.
And he loved me. And he comes up to me before we go on stage. We're backstage. And he puts his head in my boobs.
What?
And goes,
Oh my
You're
and
god.
then he's
kidding
like,
me.
give me a kiss. I'm like, buddy.
Oh my god.
And I wasn't out yet.
Sure.
I was like, buddy, no.
I can't believe he put his head there.
Yeah.
I
That's
can.
disgusting.
They were all like, these people
Yeah.
are like,
They're
hashtag
disgusting
me
now.
too. If you knew what these guys,
Same footage.
yeah.
When I said there's Gary Morton's opening whatever
Yeah.
warm-up act, in the same reel there is Buddy Hackett on set telling some loud ass horrible story about a man who can only orgasm when the fire engine goes off. So he would anyway. He's telling some putrid story, and Lucille Ball walks over and covers her kid's ears.
oh my God.
As
that's
Buddy Hackett's like,
fantastic.
"Gack, gack, gack, gack." I can't believe you worked with him.
Oh yeah, all those guys, Alan. I did all of them.
That's crazy.
They were really nice to me.
I was thinking too about
great.
like all the stuff that goes on. Like if somebody pulled their dick out in a writer's room, I don't even think I'd notice
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we were talking
wouldn't
about
blink.
that.
how gross everybody is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just, and it's because we're. Is it inured?
Yeah.
Inured
Yes, yeah,
to
yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Did you watch The Comeback?
no. Is it good?
Oh my God, yes. The Comeback, it nails that. It nails a lot of stuff
Is
about
it a
LA.
series?
It was Lisa Kudrow's series. They did one
Oh,
season.
right. That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
And the second season's 10 years, literally 10 years apart.
Okay.
But the first season is all about that.
Just men, the way they act in a room.
Just being on
And
a
we
set.
were so just okay. Great. You're so yeah.
Just happy to have the fucking job because only one of you can
Right,
have
right,
it.
right.
And
And
I-
you're an asshole, and yeah.
Yeah.
I used to give it right back to them, so I got respect from.
That's
yeah. I
But
used to
that's
be
even
like, go
weirder that
fuck
that's
yourself.
the game. You know what I mean? It's like that you have to come up to that or like reduce yourself to
Well,
being
because
an asshole male.
you have to do that so they don't fuck with you. Like they used to all introduce me like, oh, our next act is really tall
Mm-hmm.
and she's a woman. And then I'd get on stage and be like, hey, that was our MC. He's male. He hasn't bathed in fucking 3 weeks. He has testicle and hairy ball. Like,
Yeah.
I just gave it back and they were like, oh. And I used to literally have to say when they would say, what do you want me to say? You know, I don't know if people know that before you go on stage, the MC says, what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
And I used to just say, please don't say I'm tall. Please don't lift the mic stand up. Please don't say I'm a woman. Like, that's what I had to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking assholes.
I hate men.
Me too.
Except they're
I
assholes.
wanna-
Okay.
Well, and on that.
I'm so glad I'm seeing you. Okay, we
I know,
all
this
hate
is
men.
great.
Love you and
Oh my God. When can I come back?
Come back.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do it
before you
then.
go, I'm going to
Yay.
see you. I'm going to fly out and see you.
No,
We're gonna-
please.
I want to do.
We should go visit Henriette.
I know. God, I haven't seen Henriette. I haven't seen anybody in New York. Garrett and I went back to New York. When was it? 2018. And I felt like it seemed like an outdoor mall now.
Is that the
Oh,
last?
yeah.
That's the last time you were in the city?
Wait till you see now post pandemic.
Yeah.
Why? How so?
You know, I live on the Upper West Side. There, 10 o'clock at night, you cannot find anything to eat. It's everything is closed. Yeah.
My favorite place is on the Upper East Side, Due. It's an Italian restaurant on like 77 and something. It's close to the endoscopy place that killed Joan Rivers. So every time I'm there, I have a nice lunch and then I
Right.
go spit on the endoscopy place.
That's great.
All right. We're not going to do better than that.
Yeah.
Great to meet you.
You too.
Really nice.
Thanks for
to meet you.
having me.
Yay. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.